If you want to get more annoyed, apparently ChatGPT stole Scarlett Johansson's voice and flirts now. I'm pretty sure there have already been like AI voice models for Scarlett Johansson for a while, right? She's not exactly like an unknown celebrity. God, I can't understand these people with the drama farming. It's just like key jangling, you know. It goes to degrees sometimes that I remember people being like, "Hey, you should debate Chat GPT's version of you." No, I shouldn't. I feel like there's like a content whirlpool that sometimes you guys try to drag me down into, like the Kraken. And it's like one of these days, if I'm not careful, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be like, all right, guys, we reached our sub milestone. Now I'm going to debate AI voice Jordan Peterson giving me arguments from ChatGPT. It's going to read the arguments it makes against me. We're going to debate them. Let's go, boys. And like, I will be in hell. I will be in Davy Jones' locker, and it will be your fault. You know, that's not the timeline that I've chosen for myself. I choose to live. I choose to breathe. I choose to feel the kiss of the warm summer breeze on my skin, the light. I choose the light. OpenAI says it'll remove one of the voices used by ChatGPT. Hey, that's a good thing. You know, AI models have been facing increased public scrutiny for a while. And I think it's good if there's any kind of external pressure, you know? I think that's a good thing. The flirty conversational upgrade to its AI chatbot drew comparisons to the 2013 film Her, starring the actress. You know, I actually did not know that was Scarlett Johansson. Her is a really good film. I've actually seen it twice, and I normally don't rewatch movies. Her was a really good film. Really, really makes you question. It really makes you think about some stuff, I think. Like that movie actually gets you by the brain a little bit. Her was super creepy. It was very creepy, very unnerving, you know? I like that a lot. It also says, "Stop it, you're making me blush," when complimented. You know, can we talk about the real victims here? I'm not joking. I'm not being euphemistic. I'm not overselling it. The real victims of stuff like this are the guys who fall for it. Like, there are men who, I'm not doing the man versus bear thing here yet, you know, but like, what state are men in that this is, look, I know there are some women who do this, but let's not pretend it's equal. Let's not pretend like, oh yeah, it's about like the same amount of guys and girls who fall in love with AI chatbots. I don't think that's true. Yeah, it's really weird to think about how many of them are in chat right now. This is giving such female character as written by men vibes, said one person on X. Okay, in fairness, that's like 98% of the roles Scarlett Johansson is given. She's always been very much like the like man puppeting the sexy woman kind of woman in her roles to me. Not to disparage her as an actress, she's great. Just like the roles she's given. Loved her in Asteroid City though. She's great when she's allowed to act. Yeah. She had a reduction before too. No kidding. I don't blame her. You know how much she was great in Jojo Rabbit. She was great in Jojo Rabbit. Stellaris has recently used AI voice in one of their DLCs, and I think it's really good. Oh, brave opinion to take in my chat, you know, considering that one of the few things that actually genuinely makes me angry is people defending AI. But I respect the boldness. What are your thoughts in cases like that? I hate it. I know there's a temptation to go like, yeah, you could like procedurally generate dialogue and it could be infinite out in the cosmos, but I don't want that. If something sounds cool in a game, if it sounds good or immersive, I don't want to just think like, wow, glad the random number generator rolled in my favor. I want to think a human being sculpted that for me. When I'm playing a game, even a game like Stellaris, which I don't play, but if I was playing a game like Stellaris, I would want every element of that to feel like a purposeful decision that somebody made that I could engage with, not just like, oh yeah, that's good filler noise. And even if that means there's less dialogue. That being said, I don't know if they need to use AI for it, but they don't have anywhere near enough dialogue for Spider-Man in any Spider-Man games. What is up with that? How do you spend like $100 million crafting all of New York City in a gigantic, like immersive 3D world with top of the line graphics, and then when Spider-Man punches a guy, he has 3 things he can say? What do you mean? Really? Like, you really couldn't, like, you should be writing like 100 lines for every thing he can do, because localization is really expensive. That's true, because you have to do it in every language. Could we be a little bit, just a little bit racist and just have more lines in English? First of all, that's real because he's in New York. He's not like in a fantasy world where they could be speaking any language. He's in New York. He speaks English. So I like maybe in India they get like 6 lines per punch. You know, I like okay, maybe skill issue a bit. Maybe be American next time. I don't know. I just think it's crazy that he has like 3 lines for a punch. Most people will play in English anyway. Yeah. Shogun must have subtitles. They can get used to it. Yeah, yeah. Try harder in your next life, I guess. Yeah, exactly. I'm always saying this to people from India playing video games made in America. How about that Cornel West fellow running for president? Think it's going to be another Bernie situation? Did you pull that one out of like a randomizer? Cornel West? Who the fuck is Cornel West? That guy, he was like a flash in a pan if ever there was one. Switching party 3 times on his way to like get 0.6%. Like no, and I called this too. You know? Yeah, we're a jank sweepers in this house. Thank you. Yeah, he writes well, but he seemingly can't do politics. People don't understand how big of a difference there is between being an activist and being a politician, and this is going to keep screwing over the left, like, more and more and more over time. This isn't as much of an issue with the right, because the right doesn't really have activists the way that we do, you know? The right has grifters and pundits. They have people in power who are given money to lie. But they don't have, like, in terms of, like, dedicated activists, the thing is, like, there's a reason why you don't really see pop-up populist-driven right-wing protests. They don't really happen. The crowds are almost always on the left side. There's no right-wing equivalent of the Black Lives Matter protests in which literal millions of Americans marched. Like, there's no equivalent to that. The closest they got were the anti-lockdown protests, and that wasn't just a conservative thing. That was also like a weird shut-in, like centrist libertarian. There was like a broad coalition there. But in terms of like the right-wing, you know, it's yeah. Well, January 6th. Do you think there's an okay, this is what I mean by like the reflexive contrarianism. Can you like try your best to think on the point that I'm making rather than like saying something you know I'm instantly going to rebut? Like you understand, don't you, right? The difference between this is a coordinated effort and march led by the president of the United States and like a massive, like a difference between that and a like populist upspring of activists. You can understand the difference between these. I know you can. You don't need me to correct you. So don't prompt me to. As a consequence of the lack of like real activism on the right, they have their pundits, they have their grifters, they don't have, you know, they don't have that kind of like activist class of people, the kind of people who run around like slapping stickers on walls around like the downtown area. You know, as a consequence of that, I think they're able to manage the difference between people's more populist tendencies and the necessary behavior of politicians. But on the left, man, left activists will take literally any concession made by a politician, no matter how necessary, and think like, oh, they're like lost, you know? Like to a lot of left activists, Bernie Sanders is already like compromised because he endorsed Biden after dropping out of the 2020 primary, which is something he absolutely had to do. Like it'd be insane if he didn't. It would have been worse for the left if he didn't. But it doesn't matter because it's not an activist thing to do. The activist thing to do. This was a big issue with Nina Turner as well. Nina Turner has had a lot of trouble walking this line, and it got her in trouble. Nina Turner might have been able to win and have real power if it wasn't for her shit talking Biden the way that she did. You know, she made herself so much of an unnecessary target. They did the same thing to AOC. Yeah, but at least AOC won, you know? Being an activist is critiquing power. Being a politician is using power. And there's a big difference. You can gain power by critiquing power, but being an activist in and of itself doesn't substantively mobilize or act on power. It produces a swell of support for a cause that can be channeled into a form, you know, like through a specific cause electorally, or like a politician, or like a bill that's getting passed through, or like the threat of future action can press non-supportive politicians to, you know, accept what you've done or what you've said. AOC is exponentially smarter than Nina Turner. Anyway, AOC knows how to play ball. AOC is really smart. People, you know, I know she's got kind of like the horse upper front teeth thing when she laughs, and people like say like, oh, it's like a donkey, you know. AOC is really smart. I wonder if, because one of the main things that lets her down right now is that she's young and she's a woman, and these two things are just like grounding points for unseriousness, like getting mistreated publicly or being thought of as less intelligent. And I wonder if as she gets older, like she might kind of mature into a, you know, I don't know, like some of those elements of reflexive unseriousness might kind of fall off a little bit. Yeah, and she plays League of Legends. And Amogus? Well, that one's fine. That's a nice party game. If she played Dota, she'd be present. If she played Dota, she would be like a campist, you know? Dota's just like Russia to me, man. Like what? Like Dota and CS:GO. Who's the British Galloway? She'd be like Galloway. Galloway plays Dota, okay? That's where he got radicalized, you know? One game of Dota, and you go from like a principled leftist into thinking that Assad is actually like defending the Syrian people against Western influence. Now he's a cat boy. Well, like I said, like Russia, you know? So yeah, obviously.